we've seen a lot of people being released from jail ever since the coronavirus have, broken out. We've seen Tekashi Snitch 9. He was let out of jail. Now we heard Michael Cohen, Trump's, ex-lawyer. He's being let out of jail. Michael Avenatti, he's been let out of jail. All these different people being let out of jail. Even locally right here, they're letting people out of jail, right? Well, Bill Cosby has asked to be let out of jail because of the coronavirus. And due to his age, he's definitely within the risk factor of people catching coronavirus and dying from it. And, so his lawyers had asked that can he do the rest of his time at his house, which it should be a no-brainer. I believe that people should be able to do their time at home. Now, they leave away from their house, and you got an anchor monitoring system. They leave their house for any other reason, then you go pick them up, and then, hey, they messed up. They didn't want to do home confinement, so now you got to do it over here, right? But Bill Cosby has been denied an early release from prison, despite the COVID-19 outbreak inside the facility where he's housed. Listen to that. So coronavirus is in the facility where Bill Cosby is at. He is in the risk factor, and these people don't care because they have a vendetta against Bill Cosby. They want the man to die. So they're saying that he's serving a 10-year sentence at the SCI Phoenix in Scapac, Pennsylvania, after being found guilty in his trial. OK, so it said last Friday, Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf revealed a plan to temporarily relieve at-risk inmates in a bid to stop the spread of coronavirus behind bars, which Bill Cosby, once again, is at high risk of getting the coronavirus. OK. So it said the announcement sparked speculation that Cosby could be free, but the state's Department of Corrections crushed any hope of the elderly star being released. And he says that, sex offenders are not eligible under the required criteria. He said the star's representative, Andrew White, hit back claiming it's dangerous to keep Cosby cooped up given his poor health and age. He said all elderly inmates like Mr. Cosby could succumb to the virus. It seems it's more politically motivated, and it is. And it's more so racially motivated. We got to say it's racially motivated. Trust me on that. It is racially motivated and personally motivated on top of that to not let this man out is very upsetting and disappointing. It said earlier this month, an inmate inside that prison died from coronavirus. OK, an inmate. And the only reason the inmates are getting it because the guards are bringing it into the jail. Those guys aren't outside the jail to catch coronavirus. So the guards are bringing a nasty disease from China into the jails. So it said 21 of the prisoners and 13 staff at the facility tested positive for the coronavirus. It said Governor Wolf said he could authorize the early release of up to 1,800 inmates across the state. Now it said on Thursday, 9 inmates from the SCI Phoenix were among the first prisoners in Pennsylvania to be released. It said a spokesperson for the prisoner said that all nonviolent offenders have been tested to make sure they are not infected with COVID-19. It said, meanwhile, Bill Cosby's rep claims the star risk of contracting coronavirus is growing by the day, which is very, very true. Now, they said they're concerned about, Bill Cosby's health in prison during the coronavirus epidemic. It said the reason, they said Mr. Cosby is elderly and blind and always needs to be escorted around the prison by support service inmates. It said known as certified peer specialists. It said those inmates, as they could fall victim to the coronavirus easily and spread the disease to Mr. Cosby as they wheel him around a wheelchair. Among duties, the inmates bring Mr. Cosby to the infirmary, where it's the doctor's appointments, and clean his cell. OK, so they don't care at all. They want Bill Cosby to die. When they put him in jail at 82, and we know he was not found guilty of raping anybody. He was not found guilty of that. He was found guilty of what they would call digital penetration, which is basically, not to get too graphic, you're using your fingers to penetrate, a woman. OK, that's what he ended up doing. And he didn't have no quaaludes. If you listen back to the trial, it was Benadryl. OK, but that's what they sent him to jail for. But Bill Cosby, as I stated before, if he'd have been going home to his wife and leaving Becky alone, he would be at home right now. I've said that, and I will keep saying that. You can fool whatever woman you want to. It's your business. It is your business. But in this country, fooling with, Becky, I'm talking about Becky, her, that one, more so than any other ones, it could be a problem for you. It could. You know, and then Bill Cosby, you know, like I said, they want him to die in jail. They do. That's what they wanted from the get-go, is him to die. So coronavirus get him, they would be even happy about that. You know how these people are. They would love to watch you go down. They would love to watch you die and cheer. That's who they are. And, you know, that's why I tell brothers and sisters to always look out for each other. Don't get involved with these folks. You know, you can do business with them, but that's far as it goes, business. We don't do nothing more and nothing less. But leave me a comment, let us think about a situation with, you know, Bill Cosby, that basically they want him to die of coronavirus. You know, they don't want to let him go home, but they allowed Tekashi 6ix9ine to go home. Isn't that something?